Hello, my friends.
Stay a while and listen.
That was my Deckard Cain impression. Terrible, right? So, it feels like it's been ages since I've done a Druthers. Let's read Druthers. It's only been a month, but maybe I did it at the beginning of last month. I don't know. Either way, it's time for another episode of Absurdity Observer, the back of the Druthers paper. I'm not going to bother, reading and explaining the whole series. If you're watching this by now, I imagine you know what this is all about. For anybody that's just tuning in for the first time, this is a column in the Druthers newspaper that I read. It's on the back. It's called Absurdity Observer, which is just, it says right here, some of the most absurd things that have happened in recent weeks. And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, as there always is. Now, just a little FYI here for August's Absurdity Observer. I haven't forgotten. The video did get taken down, and I mentioned that last time. When that happens, I do what's called an investigation video, which is basically looking at why did YouTube deem that this video was not perfectly acceptable. Since all I'm doing here is basically just reading a publication and sharing a couple of my thoughts. I'm pretty sure I've identified what the culprit was, and it wasn't anything that's like deplorable. It was just a recommendation that I half-heartedly made to do with fighting a cold. So we'll look at that. But the funny thing is every time YouTube does that to me, the investigation video ends up doing 2 or 3 times better in analytics than the original video. So they're actually doing me a favor. So keep doing it, YouTube. I don't care. I'm on several platforms now, so I don't really care what happens to this channel. Obviously, I want to keep it going. But, what happens, happens. C'est la vie. So, let's take a look at what's going on in the world according to Druthers, October 2023, and this is issue number 35. All right. I'll try to keep my peanut gallery comments to a minimum, but not promising anything. Here's the first bullet. So, Canada bans all school books printed before 2008 due to a non-politically correct or PC content. I haven't read these. Sometimes I'll read them before the show. Today I'm actually reading these for the first time, so I apologize if I stumble over them. But yeah, this doesn't surprise me. This has been a common practice. There's been book burnings, which seems so medieval and archaic. It's crazy that this kind of stuff is still happening. Instead of arming people with critical thinking, let's just get rid of all the books. Right? Anything before 2008, no longer relevant. And if what we're developing now ends up being wrong, it's not like we need to look back to pre-2008 for the answer. Like, how quickly do things change in the scientific world? But we're going to get rid of all of our pre-2008 books? Something not right there. Anyway, the rest of it says, the Trudeau regime has announced a nationwide ban on all school books in Canada printed before 2008 due to the fact that they may contain non-politically correct content. According to reports, Canadian schools are being forced to destroy the books, so they are still burning them, because they aren't inclusive enough. Only inclusive and culturally responsive books will be allowed. So he's trying to, him and his little regime of fools are trying to rewrite history. I'm not an avid watcher of like those old Looney Tunes episode where they would do like blackface and you'd see like Hitler clips and stuff like that. I can't say I'm like a fan or I'm gonna favorite those videos, but what good does it do us to strike those from the record and pretend as though they never existed? I think there's still some valuable lessons to be learned and all that, and by getting rid of those, we're gonna forget those lessons. You know what I mean? It's wrong on so many levels. Anyway, next bullet. The Ontario Divisional Court. Divisional Court? Can't say I've ever heard that. The Ontario Divisional Court has deemed the provincial government's standardized math test for teachers, the MPT test, as racist. How can a test be racist? I thought that was a human trait. The court declared the test racist and made the decision to intervene after it was found that in 2018, the first year it was given officially, some groups of test takers, notably candidates self-described as being of African, Caribbean, or indigenous descent, didn't score as well as the white candidates. They are now planning to rewrite the test to make it somehow less racist. Let's move on. While the American Academy of Pediatrics and U.S. government statistics has previously reported that 0 to 0.03% of all child COVID-19 cases resulted in death, the data says otherwise. Really? A new study titled Hospitalizations and Clinical Severity of COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 among infants under 1 year old, Al-Shesh et al., found that the case fatality rate in children 0 to 18 years old with COVID-19 was only 0.000076%. And of the 5 fatalities out of 65,675 children included in the study, 2 of them had cancer, and the other 3 had complex genetic disorders, implying that all children who died likely died with COVID instead of COVID. That was such a common thing. And it strikes me at how unapologetic they are about it. You know, the way that things were twisted and mislabeled and the trickery of it all, you know? The black word magic. I like to say this, but it's so true because that's exactly what it is. The black word magic that they used and the unapologetic nature of the aftermath of several years later when it's been proven time and time again that their narrative was false and misleading. There's a special place in hell, that's all I'm going to say. A study published in the European Journal of Heart Failure titled Sex-Specific Differences in Myocardial injury incidents after COVID-19 mRNA 1273 booster vaccination, Bergen et al., includes that a shocking 1 out of 35 people who took the vaccine experienced at least some degree of myocardial injury. 1 in 35. Jeez. You'd think that I would stop being surprised by these statistics, but they never get any less unsettling. Solar panels release 5 times more. I knew this one was coming. Solar panels release 5 times more carbon dioxide than previously thought. 5 times. Data published by Italian researcher Enrico Mariutti that took into account the solar photovoltaic PV industry's manufacturing process, which includes methane emissions, methane emissions, albedo, grid upgrades, storage, and transport, finds that the estimate drastically increases from the previously thought 48 g CO2 per kilowatt per hour, which is already twice that of hydroelectricity. Twice that of hydroelectricity, to 170 and 250 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour, which is 62.5% as much carbon dioxide emissions as natural gas electricity generation. Holy shit. Wow, that's significantly worse. That one's mind-boggling. Like, I knew that they were going to eventually find that solar panels were not as green as was once thought, but that's bad. Let's keep going. Study published in the Open Forum Infectious Diseases, Shrestha et al., using CDC all-cause mortality data revealed that each year, every vaccinated person becomes more and more likely to die at a rate of 7% per dose per year. Scary. The results of the study also revealed that the more doses of the original vaccine a person took, the more likely they were to be diagnosed with COVID-19. I know I keep cocking my head after each one of these, but none of them are going to make any sense. It's just, I often, after reading one, will pause to try to make sense of it, and then I realize there's no sense coming. There's no sense to be made of it. In a step towards the future of retail transactions, Amazon confirmed that by the year's end, it will integrate its Amazon One Palm recognition system across its entire network of over 500 Whole Foods stores. Ooh, I don't like that. Already present in 200 stores, a simple hand scan will conclude the transaction, marking an end to the requirement for traditional forms of payment. Not sure how I feel about that one. More convenient, yes, obviously, but as we've come to realize that more convenience is not always better by any stretch of the imagination. I said that I would show the cartoon as well. I did read the cartoon, which is kind of cool. Star Wars COVID Strikes Back Wars. You will wear the mask.
Resist or must. Do or do not, there is no try.
I can't breathe while wearing this thing. Oh, it's Darth Vader.
I can't breathe while wearing this thing.
You will take the vax, Darth. There it is. It's a good one. Ben Garrison, he's the man. His satirical comics are the best. Is that focusing? Anyway, you can look it up. Check out Ben Garrison. His website is just full of these amazing caricatures, comics, whatever you want to call them, satirical comics. He's so good. Spot on, Ben. As usual. The CDC has announced that the biblical disease leprosy is making a comeback in the US. Coincidentally, in August of this year, a study titled COVID, where's it coming from? Straight out of the Bronze Age, apparently. COVID-19 vaccination and leprosy A, UK hospital-based retrospective cohort study. Holy crap, I just realized something. Think about how people lost their shit whenever the whole COVID thing was happening, which was just a flu, right? A respiratory thing, which was not actually even that bad. Imagine if there was leprosy, how people would be freaking out. They would lose their minds. Wow, that's a scary thought, leprosy. Imagine to what extent people would go if they thought there was leprosy out there. Leprosy. Oh boy. Linked cases of leprosy to oh no, Pfizer's getting involved. Linked cases of leprosy to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Oh no, that's adding another ugly layer to it. I think I missed something here. COVID-19 vaccination and leprosy A UK hospital-based retrospective cohort study. Linked cases of leprosy to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, okay. Wow, okay. That has some serious implications. The study theorized that the vaccine makes people significantly more vulnerable to the disease due to its effects on the immune system, particularly T-cell immunological complications, and the vaccine's effect on toll-like receptor 1 genes. A similar article also published in August to the Journal of Infectious Diseases titled Herpes Zoster Reactivation After mRNA and Adenovirus Vectored Coronavirus Diseases 2019 Vaccination Analysis of National Health Insurance Database. They speculated a similar theory when they found a connection between shingles and mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. Leprosy. Twitter/X CEO Linda Yaccarino, how do you say her name? Yaccarino, announced their new freedom of speech, not reach policy on harmful speech, where they stand that if you are going to post something that is lawful but awful, you get labeled, you get labeled, you get de-amplified, which means it cannot be shared, and it is certainly demonetized. Yacarino admitted that the labels help encourage self-censoring, whereby even if people happen to cross a shadow banned post, they are much less likely to share it if it had been labeled as harmful. But doesn't that involve still having like these fact checkers that are just paid off? That doesn't make sense. I'm surprised that they would go for this. Yacarino claims that this change in policy was done for brand safety, to protect the big corporation using the platform from being damaged by appearing next to harmful content. I gotta reread this here for a second. Twitter CEO announced their new freedom of speech, not reach policy on harmful speech. But they're still having to determine what is harmful speech. If you're going to post something that is lawful but is awful, yeah, which is someone's right, you get labeled. You get de-amplified, which means it cannot be shared, and it is certainly demonetized. I don't understand. Will encourage self-censoring. I don't get where they're going with that. Hateful speech, inaccurate speech, bullshit speech, legalese. These are all allowed. It's just we have to have a sense of discernment, right? What is labeling something and shadow banning something going to do? And who's the judge in that? I don't like that approach. I don't like this idea at all. You'll just put a label next to it, harmful content. Why don't you just ban it? Why don't you just remove it? That's dumb. In a press conference, unless I didn't understand, that was dumb. In a press conference, the NYPD announced their plans to trial a dystopian robotic surveillance platform in the Times Square subway station. Yeah, I heard about that. The robot, dubbed the Nightscope K5. Does that not sound like it's right out of RoboCop? The Nightscope K5 monitors mobile devices and records video that can be reviewed in case of an emergency or a crime. But why? Okay, great, fine. You want to use this technology? You think it'll help people? Fine, use it. But why call it the Nightscope K5 and make it sound all like RoboCop? You know, that's just ushering in a new age of like actual RoboCops that'll be patrolling, and they'll have their own beat, and they'll be beating people to death. Documents recently obtained through a FOIA request by the Functional Government Initiative suggest public health officials used inaccurate information and misrepresented medical research to advance their policy objective that masks prevent COVID-19, despite strong opposing scientific evidence received from top experts. Nothing surprising there. We already knew that. A new study titled Possible Toxicity of Chronic Carbon Dioxide Exposure Associated with Face Mask Use, particularly in pregnant women, children, and adolescents, a scoping review, exposes the harms of chronic mask use. As the study put it, fresh air has around 0.04% CO2, while wearing masks more than 5 minutes bears a possible chronic exposure to carbon dioxide of 1.41% to 3.2% of the inhaled air. Yeah, the lungs are an excretory organ that needs to come out. What's coming out shouldn't go back in. It's like drinking your pee. You probably shouldn't do it, even though there's people that do. There's people that do everything, though. Doesn't mean it's good for you. U.S. Navy toxicity experts set the exposure limits for submarines carrying a female crew to 0.8% CO2 based on animal studies which indicated an increased risk for stillbirths. Additionally, mammals who were chronically exposed to 0.3% CO2, the experimental data demonstrate a I'm so bad at these technical terms, teratogenicity with irreversible neuron damage in the offspring, reduced spatial learning caused by brainstem neuron why are you doing this to me? Apoptosis, and reduced circulating levels of the insulin-like growth factor 1. Circumstantial evidence exists that extended mask use may be related to current observations of stillbirths and to reduced verbal, motor, and overall cognitive performance in children born during the pandemic. A need exists to reconsider mask mandates. No kidding. This is not the first study to find masks to be harmful. Last year, a study found plastics in masks were present in users' lungs. Another study from earlier this year titled Measuring the Quantity of Harmful Volatile Organic Compounds Inhaled Through Masks found alarming concentrations of harmful chemicals being released from face masks. That's a huge bullet, by the way. None of this stuff surprising. 0% of that shocking. Yeah, and I'm not going to read the whole Ryu et al. I'm not going to read those anymore. But yeah, nothing really surprising there. Stuff that we already knew, but yet many of us, I don't want to include myself on a lot of this dumb shit that happened, but a lot of people knew the dangers and did it anyway. So now, here you have it. There's several studies now that have come out proving that they're bad for you on many different fronts, not just the CO2, the plastics, the chemicals used in the manufacturing of the masks, on and on and on. You're not supposed to have something covering your face for extended periods of time every day. Duh. In a move that benefits the giants, Amazon now accepts food stamps, and Uber Eats will begin accepting food stamps early next year. That one seems out of place. It's very short bullet and seems a bit out of place. So Amazon and Uber Eats are accepting food stamps, or will be accepting food stamps in the next year. I guess that the point there is that it's tying and reinforcing the tie between the government and food, which is very, very bad. And then it kind of ties into the whole UBI thing, I guess, as well. All right, last one already. Doing good today. Not rambling on as much as usual. Here it is. The draconian online safety bill passed the UK Parliament in late September. Under the guise of safety, the bill is one of the most far-reaching attempts to date to regulate how tech companies deal with users' content on their platforms. Put simply, the bill requires regulated services like Facebook and WhatsApp to perform risk assessments and to adopt mitigation measures, i.e. censorship, in user feeds and private messages. Wow. That really makes me think twice about my decision to go back on those platforms. I mean, I don't use them very much, but that doesn't make me want to use them at all. At all. In some ways, I would have preferred not going back on those platforms after reading that. But again, all things that I already knew, that we already know. You know, I got censored the other day on Facebook after this new bill from these morons in Ottawa that basically was a stranglehold on news. And I posted a quote from a book, from a book that was from several years ago, a Murray Rothbard book, mind you, which they don't like him, which for good reason. If you're not sure who that is, you can look it up and then you'll quickly figure out why they don't want people reading his book. But it's a great quote, and it's not news, it's nothing new, it's fact. It was basically talking about the euphemisms that the government uses and how, in reality, they're something quite different, right? But I figured out what it was in the algorithm that was stopping me from posting. It wasn't even the quote, it was the link, which is even scarier if you think about it. That means that they know that PDF exists, and they've contrived such an algorithm that it will block not just quotes from the book, but the whole, any link pointing to that book, to that PDF in the first place, will automatically be blocked. That's a scary thought. Combine that with the first bullet that we read in the Absurdity Observer, which was talking about banning all school books before 2008. Put those things together. Think about it. Think about where we're going with all this. Think about that. And then think about your kids. And think about your grandkids and your great-grandkids. What kind of fucked up world, you know? It's something I think about often, guys, and it's one of the more revolting, troubling things that I think about. I can't help but think about it because I think it's a healthy thing for everybody to consider the future generations, the ones that we may never know, that will never know us, but we still care about them. I worry for them. I worry for my kids. I worry for my kids' kids. I worry for my great-grandkids. I worry for all of my my descendants. Man, it's upsetting. It's upsetting because there's such a potential here on this world. This earth it's just so abundant and rich, and it can be such a harmonious life if we wanted it to be. And those of us that do want that, we're just so few in numbers, it seems, that those that want something else are the ones running the show. And that's where the tragedy lies, folks, is that it's like one of those bratty teenagers in high school, wasted potential. These people that are servants who call themselves leaders, they're the bratty teenager. They're the bratty teenager ruining it for everyone else, ruining their own potential, and as a result, the potential of everyone else. Stifling it, stifling the potential of everyone else by not even entertaining the idea of fulfilling their own potential. It's a corruption that starts from the top and works its way down, you know. And now it's so pervasive that it's just everywhere. It's like a cancer. It's black and it's evil and it's ungodly. And I know that we're screwed, right? I don't say this in a pessimistic way, in more of a realistic sense. We're kind of screwed, this generation. The next generation probably after that is going to be screwed. I just worry that this is going to be an unstoppable runaway freight train now, and no matter what we do to try to save it, to help it, these poor kids and future generations are doomed. And it doesn't have to be that way. I want to try to end this on a good note, but it's really difficult whenever we read these kind of things to find the light in the darkness. Sometimes it's very difficult because I feel like I don't know anymore if we're beyond saving. I don't know. I'd like to think that we're not, and of course I'll do what I can to help. I just worry. I'm looking for the good news tidbits. I don't see good news tidbits again, unfortunately, but what I do see is a new column, or new section here, called Freedom Wins. There you go. There's ending on a good note. So next time there won't be good news tidbits, but there's Freedom Wins. It only takes up less than a quarter of a page still, But hey, we'll take it. We'll take any wins that we can get. So next time we'll do Freedom Wins. And then next thing you know, it'll be November. And we'll be doing it all over again. So look forward to that August investigation as well when I get around to that. When I find some free time and some free time falls in my lap, I'll actually get that done. I will, because I want to do like I want to start doing maybe even like a live stream for that, where we can do an investigation together live. That would be kind of cool, and I could take questions and we can have some discussions as we go. But that's this month's Druthers Absurdity Observer. Hope you enjoyed it. A little bit depressing at times, but even though the news is not always good, I think that it's important to have a reasonable amount of staying current. I don't obsess over the news anymore. I certainly don't watch mainstream news outlets. But, you know, with stuff like Druthers and reading the right alt news articles or videos, watching videos, I do like to stay current with what's going on, but I certainly don't obsess over it like I once did. And I think that's it's a good thing to do, is definitely moderate your level of consumption when it comes to news, because news is not what it once was. It's mostly just doom and gloom and scare tactics, so it makes sense to limit it or eliminate it completely if you have to. And then just get your news from people. Talk to people. Talk to them and see what they know. Read some books. Remember those things, books? They're good. I recently got myself a Kindle. I've been doing some reading. It's kind of cheating in a way. It's like reading a book without reading a book. But what I like about it is I can load up PDFs on here, and I can read those without fumbling around or printing off 100 to 200 pages double-sided, using up a bunch of ink and paper. So I kind of like it. It's nice. It's nice to be able to read, and it's easy. It's easy on the eyes compared to like reading on my phone or something. So, but all that to say, you know, when it comes to news, I mean, whatever you really need to know will find its way to you, right? The word spreads like wildfire between people. You don't really need to watch CTV or any of these bullshit news outlets. There's nothing good on there anyway. There's nothing factual. Very little, if any. So, yeah, moderate, throttle yourself when it comes to your consumption of news if you have to, or just don't pay attention to it. I mean, just live your life. That's probably the best thing. Anyway, I'll end it there. Somewhat positive note, hopefully, and we'll definitely pick up on a positive note next time when we check out this new Freedom Wins. Looking forward to that. Freedom Wins for October 2023. Until then.